So it wasn't a surprise we were getting married. So then when I told my mom, like, hey, we want to get married soon because we wanted to be married before we lived together. And then my mom like lost her mind.
Really?
And I mean, lost it. She was very upset, to say the least. Now I'm on this side, I understand that it was from her not really trusting a relationship, thinking that you just got into residency, you're just doing this, and now you're going to attach yourself to someone. Are you sure that you want to do, it came from I understand now, especially now as a mom, I understand where she was coming from, but it was very jarring for me at the time. So then I married him anyway and didn't tell anyone.
Hey man, what's up, baby? It's another episode, man, of Couples Connect. I got my boo here with me. Of course, my name is Kevin.
And I'm Tanya.
That's right, man. We're here for another episode of Couples Connect. It's going down today, man. Without further delay, man, we're going to get into this thing, man, and introduce our guest. Today we got none other than Mr. Damani Anderson and his beautiful wife, Miss Stephanie, Dr. Stephanie.
Come on now, put some respect on it.
Let me put some respect
on it. Yeah.
On that name.
Dr. Stephanie Anderson in the building, man. So, guys, welcome to the show, baby. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
I know I forgot to put a little respect on that name.
It's fine. I'm just going to let it go.
But no, that's good. But I also want to address the fact that Damani, yes, Damani is your born name, but also the big chiropractor.
Chiropractor.
What is it? Therapist. Therapist.
My big black therapist.
Therapist, yes. My apologies, man. My apologies. So, how did that name come about? Why did you, besides the obvious?
I would say I'm 6'9" and I'm black. So, hence the name, my big black therapist. But no, in all seriousness, I felt like God called me to this name for, the obvious reason. Like I said, I am 6'9", dark-skinned individual. But for years, I've always attempted to hide my size. And the question is, how do you hide your size at 6'9"? Because that doesn't make any sense. What that means is because society always expects me to be a certain person, expects me to be a certain thing. Like if I'm this large, I have to play football. I have to do some type of physical activity or some type of entertainment. Like, if I'm doing anything else, then I'm wasting a body. I've literally had somebody tell me that. I mentioned to you all before this, I worked as a child investigator for 2.5 years. And I remember going on a case to go see a child that was being abused. And I got on the elevator and a guy stood next to me, was just like, man, you're really big. Like, do you play any sports or like, you must be in the NFL. I was like, no, I don't do that. I work here. He was like, man, what a waste of $1 million body.
Wow.
And as I'm going to go save a kid's life, essentially. So that was, for years, I kind of lived in a way that hid that. Like, I fell to the norms. If somebody asked me if I played sports, I would say yes. I didn't play sports. I played sports in high school, but that wasn't my passion. I didn't really like it. I actually sang. I got a vocal scholarship to Clark and Lang University singing. So that was my passion, which is against the norm. So for years, I will fall into line when people ask me questions or anything. I'll be, oh, yeah. Oh, I play sports. Oh, I do security. I do these different things. So that's what I mean when I say blend in. I wanted to minimize what I felt I was called to do because out of fear of rejection, fear of other people looking at me differently. So once I was able to get my master's degree and I passed my certification to become an associate therapist, God called me to my big black therapist. I was like, what should I brand myself as? Like, should I just go with Damani Anderson, LMFTA, all of these different things? And I felt called to stand on that, to challenge implicit biases, to, make people think. When you hear the words big and black, what are the first things that pop in your mind? And why is that? And where did you get that from? Because when we hear it, we typically hear big black, African-American male, suspect. Or a big black, oh my God, he's a lineman or something like this is what we automatically put our minds to. Why not therapist? Why not chiropractor? Why not doctor? Like, why not all of these different things? So that's when my Big Black Therapist was born. And it was a battle, but you know, I trusted God on this, and with the support of my wife, eventually, with the support of my wife, I was able to get there and stand on it. And I'm very happy to, you know, be able to brand myself as such.
That's dope, man. Actually, man, I mean, it's, you know, I felt there was more of a meaning behind it rather than just the name itself, right? That's why I really wanted to kind of tap onto that a little bit, because I know it's not just to say I'm big, I'm black, you know what I'm saying? But it could be, but at the same time, it could be that you're bigger guy, black and all that stuff, but at the same time, there's probably like something that kind of happened along the way to kind of get you to the point to where I'm gonna stand on this.
Yeah.
And this is who, you know, I want to identify as in terms of my practice and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
No, I love it, man. I love it. Steph, what you got?
And he jokingly said, eventually, because I am just different than him, you know, like even when I chose my profession, I'm very type A, very need something secure, something to guarantee, something. This is how it always has been. This is what works. So when he told me that, I was like, are you sure? Like thinking of, you know, what if the person is not black? Are you going to alienate a group of people? Like maybe it's too abrasive, like all of the things that I had to tell myself, honestly, like I believe in him, but I can also still have an opinion. Like I don't necessarily need to just, if you're asking me my opinion, then I have a right to share my opinion, but I had to like work through that myself. But I was like, yeah, you know, maybe you should just, you know, wear this in your shoot. He was like, no, I want to wear my locks out. And I said, no, your locks are fine. Maybe you should wear a button up. He's like, well, I want to wear, and I was just like, ooh. Wow. So it was an interesting time because like I said, I do believe in him. And the way that I personally do things is just different than the way that he does things. And that's okay. Yeah. He doesn't have to be like me and I don't have to be like him. And we can still do what God calls us to do without conforming to each other. Yeah. Because I just said, well, if this is what the Lord's telling you, who am I to tell you that this ain't going to work? So I told you my opinion, but if the Lord is telling you to do this, then by all means, listen to him. But I was on the first half of it, I was just very skeptical. And then things just started flowing. And because his main things was like, well, I don't want to be someone I'm not, because then I would have to keep up this persona. And I was like, well, I get that. So now it's just him being him and it's working.
You know, that is something that married people tend to do, is to try and change their spouse to be something that they want them to be, instead of allowing their spouse to be who they are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be who he is.
Right.
But I think we get so, it's never about our partner, but it's about us. It's about our own insecurities, about what we feel other people are going to think about our spouse and what, you know, they're doing and that kind of stuff. And they're like, no, just let me be me.
Right.
And we have to do that. And it's cool that you allowed him eventually to just be him and look.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So, and everything is okay.
Yeah.
We get caught up in a thing like, oh my gosh, it's going to be this. It's okay.
It's okay.
It would be just fine.
Right. This is true.
And I thank you. Thank you for giving me that space to, and I appreciate your input. I always, you know, value what you say and what you bring. And even what helped me step out more is the fact that even if it wasn't something that you were comfortable with, you vocalized it, but you also said, I'm gonna support you and let's see what happens. And you giving me that that grace and ability really helped me stand on it even stronger.
Oh, because you don't need two of you.
That's the key.
This is true.
Because yes, we don't need, there's both, like we're both here for a reason. And there's no need to try to conform each other to the other person, because then there'll be two of the same person, and that's not what the Lord said. So yeah, and we definitely we just need each other and feed off each other. We see things that each other don't see. So even when he is planning and stuff, and he is just excited,
You gonna say it. You gonna say it.
very excited, and then I have to say, okay, so what about this? Did you think of this? Or let us plan this, so we're both needed.
We are the same with us.
Absolutely.
The same with us. There's the storm and there's the calm.
Yes.
You can't have two storms and you can't have two calms.
Right.
Do that.
So you guys, she's the calm and you're
It's a balance.
It's a balance. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So I see you guys repping the shirts, man. What are the
Yes,
shirts? What's going on with that? What that's about?
So this is actually our first marriage, first wedding. I'm sorry, our first wedding, not first marriage. This is our first wedding, and this is a silhouette of our first kiss after we said I do to one another.
Oh.
So we're the real matchy. We got socks. That's
Those
what I'm
socks,
asking.
I would rock them.
Socks. We have hoodies. We have 3 hoodies.
Yes,
We are them.
You guys are that couple.
absolutely.
Yes. And we be excited.
I almost wore my kids' socks today, but I didn't have them on.
But yeah, that's what it.
I love it.
So we'll be celebrating 8 years next
Yes,
month.
8 years next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Big, man.
13 together. So
Yeah, absolutely. So big black therapist, you almost gave me a nosebleed when you came through the door. But Steph, you ain't
I'm not. And it's very interesting.
come on now,
I'm 6'1".
my big black doctor.
I'm 6'1". The reason why I gave this, we met online.
Okay.
The reason why he got a
53.com.
date was because I saw how tall he was. And I said, well, I just have to see. You see how this works out. But yes, I'm 6'1". And the same questions that he gets, I get all the time. Do you play, and like, even at work, like with a white coat on,
Old doctor.
they're like, well, did you play basketball? It was just fine. I could have played basketball. But I was like, no. Oh, what about volleyball? No, you didn't do anything. And it's like, this.
Old doctor. Old doctor. You did nothing.
Nothing.
I know this. This is what I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely also large. Kind of the same things, but just different because, I'm a woman. And so I was still definitely smaller than him, but still big for a woman.
Mhm.
And I was also dark skinned, which the media will tell you that that's more of a manly trait
Yeah.
for all especially the 90s sitcoms. Much better now, but in the 90s, it was always like a dark skinned husband with a light skinned wife, so it was more of that. But yeah, I'm tall too.
Society would beat you down.
Kind of subconsciously though.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize that you have this complex.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a minute. And then you start challenging, like he was saying, like, why when you think of the big black, why do you think of these things? Because this is what the media says. This is what society says. But then you have to actually challenge it and then kind of start to unlearn those things. That's what we hope to do with our kids too, because they also are big.
They're gonna be big babies.
They're like in the 98th percentile, both of them, in weight and height.
Wow.
Our oldest is 3.5, and she's already in like 5 T's is what we're on because she just grows. So also trying to instill that in them, like you're big and you're tall and you're beautiful and you're smart and you don't have to be one or the other. You can be all the things.
And we have to instill that when our kids were little. We had to instill that in them too,
Mhm.
just because they're black
Yeah,
right. Kids
Right.
or whatever. And that constantly, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
You're smart, you're kind, you're loved,
Mm-hmm.
all of that. Because especially now with our kids and your kids growing up in the social media world,
Mm-hmm.
my God, social media is going to tell them that they're just
Mhm.
not worth nothing.
I can't imagine growing
Yeah.
up in a social media age.
Yeah.
My God, like it's
Yeah.
it's like a information overload, no fact checking. Everything is quote unquote the truth if it's on a certain font and a certain background, and it's just I couldn't imagine.
So I want to go back to the elevator.
Yes.
when that God said that to you, how did that make you feel?
So, I do profess myself as a Christian. Well, there's seasons where I get frustrated, and it ran me kind of hot. I was definitely upset at the audacity, with me doing what I'm doing in this field, and for him to just say that and then just go on about his life.
Yeah.
Like, that was 10 plus years ago, and I still remember it. These are tears in my life these are significant moments in my life that can be piercing if not processed properly, if not, understood, and if I don't understand my value.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, that's something that a lot of people deal with, a lot of people struggle with. And, I was blessed to be able to be on the side of understanding my mental health and processing things differently, which allowed me to feel, not to feel as bad. But I mean, it still impacted, so many times I question why. Like, why am I not passionate about sports? Why am I not? Like, because I wasn't. Like, my uncle tried to get me to do it, and I played, like I said, I played AAU ball. I played in college. I mean, I played in high school football, all of those things, but I just wasn't. I wasn't committed. I wasn't interested, and so it made me feel different. It's like I'm not normal. So hearing a comment like that just reinforced me not being normal, me being different, and something wrong with me because I rather help people or I rather sing, and instead of smashing my head up against somebody and slamming bodies on the ground.
Yeah.
So, it definitely, it impacts me. But, as I mentioned before, because I had the mental fortitude to process things and understand and know my value outside of that and know what God's called me to do, I utilize it as this is my fuel.
Yeah.
This is, yes, I'm definitely going to be my big black therapist. You know why? Because of him. Like, because of him. And anybody who has an issue with it, those are people I want to see talk to me. Why? Let's process this thing. Let's sit down and really understand why and where did that come from. So,
did you ever run across anyone that, I know Steph in the beginning had maybe a little bit reservations about the name, the title, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone else outside of, that kind of maybe like, hey man, maybe you shouldn't go with, you know what I'm saying? Or
Absolutely, yeah. I had several people. So what I did was I did a soft launch where I reached out to families, friends, and just blasted it out like, hey, give me your response, give me your response, give me your response. And this is something that we all struggle with. 98% of the people are gonna say I love it, but it's the 2% that's gonna ride you and it's gonna worry you to death, because out of 98% of everybody saying no, yes, it was like 2% that was just like, I'm not sure about it. And that was like,
Right.
But, so yeah, they definitely had feedback, and, maybe you should clean it up. You're only going to get a certain caliber of people. What is the clientele that you're looking for? It may turn other people off, and all of these different, reasons behind it, in which I took in consideration, I understood, but at the same time, I realized that my target, first off, I realized that I'm moving on what God's called me to move. Mm-hmm. So all that really don't matter, first off. Secondly, there is a community of people who aren't seen and heard. Like, that's who I'm reaching. I'm reaching the guy that's over there that feels a certain way, that's playing sports, but his heart may not be in it. Or the girl who's struggling with identity issues. Like, I'm reaching all of these people who need to feel heard and seen. And and even, now that I've been in my practice and I've been, seeing clients, like I got all races coming to me. I have Asian clients, I got Black clients, I got white clients, Hispanic clients. Like they like, I like the name.
I feel like the name actually draw people to you. Like, who is this big Black therapist? If he has the guts to call himself that, then he must be somebody who is confident, who is, it's a bold move. And I love it.
And I think, like, once the older we get, and the more we are moving the way the Lord is asking us to move, like everyone's not going to like everything. If I would have wanted him to do Damani Anderson LLC with the tie, there are some people who wouldn't have liked that. And that's okay. Like I'm not, so it's not, so yes, it's right, like 98, 95%, but it's like, we not going to please everybody most of the time. So we just really need to stay true to what our assignment is at the time and do our best to navigate and control our emotions as we respond to people who not rocking with us at the time.
Absolutely. And to another point with that, even with the naming and even with people not liking it, who sets the standard of that? That's what we need to think about. Who sets the standard of what professionalism is? Who sets the standard and what is the right way to do stuff?
Well, that's the way it's always been done, Damani.
Okay, but yeah, it's always been done by certain particular people who stated like this is what if you're not dressed this way, if you don't talk this way, if you don't walk this way, you're not considered professional. And I'm challenging that. Like, what do you mean? Like, why can't I be my authentic self and still be able to pour into people, allow people to understand me and be seen? Right. Because I don't have on a shirt and tie or, a button down and tie. Like, no, like, and what I've also learned is like, this is what people want in therapy. Well, a particular set of people want in therapy. A lot of people are turned off by therapy because they feel like therapists are, everything. And, you present yourself as such. And every movie you see, they're sitting across and they have on their suit and tie and they're writing while the person's laying there talking all that. That's the perception of therapy. So therefore, there's a whole sector of people who are turned off because they're like, I'm not doing that. But then they see me with locks, my nose ring, I got some sweats on, and I'm like, what's happening? Like, I'm my big black therapist. It's me. What's going on? And they're like, oh, I ain't know therapy was like this. I'm like, exactly. Yeah. Pull up, let's talk, let's chat, get it off your chest. Let's see what's going on. And I've had such a success rate with clients just being able to just like okay, I like this. This is cool. So
yeah. Thought about creating that environment, that space, for allowing them to be comfortable and also just being transparent, right? So,
absolutely.
I love it, man. I mean, it's 8 years in, right? Challenges. I know, as a couple, we're gonna get off of this big black therapist thing a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna
kind of dig a little bit deep into, dissect that marriage a little bit. Eight years. Talk to us.
So
kick it. Go.
So speaking of everyone's not gonna rock with you.
All right, let's do it.
Spirit. So lost.
Get into it.
So I grew up really not believing in marriage. I never saw it. I never saw it done successfully. Everyone was just trying to do the best they could, but never really saw a successful marriage. Never really trusted the opposite sex in a way that I would put that I would think that I would be in a relationship that I am now. Let's just say that. Damani just
came
from a place where marriage and partnership and loving relationships was the norm for him. So he was very like marriage, family oriented off top and kind of had faith in union and relationship. So then we dated for 5-6 years before we got married. So when it was time to get married, I had just moved to Dallas for residency. And I kind of told my mom, we've been doing all this stuff. So I'm also Nigerian. So we had to do the Nigerian engagement thing up until then. So we had to go around the city to my uncles and like the men in the family and kind of get their blessing. And then we had to have this ceremony at my mom's house where she would bless us in the marriage. So it wasn't a surprise we were getting married. So then when I told my mom, like, hey, we want to get married soon because we wanted to be married before we lived together. And then my mom like lost her mind.
Really?
And I mean, lost it. She was very upset, to say the least. now I'm on this side. I understand that it was from her not really trusting a relationship, thinking that you just got into residency, you're just doing this, and now you're going to attach yourself to someone. Are you sure that you want to do, it came from I understand now, especially now as a mom, I understand where she was coming from, but it was very jarring for me at the time. So then I married him anyway and didn't tell anyone. So, because I don't make rash decisions, right? We broke up for a chunk of time. During that time, I fasted, prayed, and I asked the Lord, is this my husband? Because if he's not my husband, ain't nobody about to do all this for nothing. So then he told me he was my husband. So then it's 3. Asked for 3 signs, and I wrote each of them down in my journal each time one would come to me. So then after that, I said, well, he's my husband. So then
what are we doing?
What are we doing? It was very such clarity, because it's like, he didn't say it was going to be easy. He didn't say that it was going to be a straight road, but when you know the destination, it just makes the other stuff in the way less significant, because it's like, well, I know where I'm gonna end up, so let me just get through whatever it is. So yes, when I told my mom, and she was upset, told my other members of my family, and they were just didn't understand, like, why so fast? What's going on? Why so fast? And I was like, well, we want to live together. And also, no one really understood that either. It was like, well, just live together. And I was like, no, we don't want to live together unless we're married. So then I just did it. And I lied about it. We got married in November. And it's so funny because it's like, you're a Christian, so you're gonna lie about it. But that's where I was at the time. No judgment. Nope. I knew I had to marry him. This was what I was supposed to do, but I wasn't strong enough to be honest about it. So lied about it until March.
So you got married in November?
We got married in November.
Then you lied.
So, want me to pick up from here? I'll tell you what happened, because
What?
Get my perspective.
I'll let you. All I'm saying is that I listened to the Lord. All right? I got married.
Man.
Amen.
Amen.
I'll pick up from here. So yeah, no. So she, on my end, I'm like, hey, I really think you should let your mom know. I really think you should let your family know, because I'm going to be the one that's going to be the bad guy. I've already been the one who's been labeled as the one who took you away because you want to get married to me now. She's the doctor of the family. She's, she's the princess. And you getting married without letting them know is going to fall on me. It's going to be my fault. It's not going to end well. And I'm not going to lie for you. I said, I'm not going, I grew up with my grandma, my grandparents, so they're like, look, I ain't going to go to hell for you. So don't ask me to lie. And I ain't going to lie. So what happened, she said, I want to do it. I said, I strongly urge you not to. She said, I'm going to do it. I said, okay, all right, I'm walking with you. I'm going to walk with you. We got married, and we literally drove to Dallas that same day, or headed toward Dallas. We stopped in New Orleans, and then we came.
So I was already in Dallas.
Yes.
Flew back for the wedding in Atlanta, and then drove back to Dallas. And literally
nobody knew.
Yeah.
Wow.
That she was there.
So the marriage, you guys got married at the church, or?
Yeah, so my grandfather was an elder at a congregation, and we got married in the minister's office. My grandfather married us, which in retrospect, we're very grateful for, because unfortunately he passed away a couple years later, before our second wedding. So that's something that we can hold on to and very appreciative of. But and it was just my side of the family there, and people that grew up with me from church. And it was Stephanie and 2 other people that went to church with us, younger than us, and went to church with us for her side. And I'm just like, this is a recipe for disaster. But you know what?
At the time, it was the most peaceful decision that I could have.
And that's what I care about. Like,
I was not adult enough in myself to just tell them and have it not ruin my day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You like, some people, just tell them. And it's like, well, if I tell them, they're going to call, they're going to come up. Like, I wasn't adult at the time enough to deal with it. So I was just like, well, I'm just going to lie.
Yeah. I mean, it was a beautiful day. She was very relaxed.
Low stress.
Very low stress. Like, literally had a small reception, maybe 50 people there, and then we just drove on. But what happened was Stephanie's mom called me, and she was just like, you know what, Damani, I apologize for all the things that we've been going through, and I really want to get to know you a little bit more.
Bless her.
Like, you know, I really want to establish this relationship with you a little bit deeper. Could you come over to the house and could you do some stuff for me in the house, and can we go to lunch and all of that? And the first time she called me, I had one of my line brothers actually go over to the house and do something for her because I couldn't. I was like, oh, I can't make it. I texted my line brother. He said he was able to do it. He went and handled that for me. Second time around was when she was just like, I really want to see you and smell. So that's when I looked at her. I said, so you want to tell her? Because she's calling me, asking me to hang out. And what we're not going to do is fly to Atlanta to spend time with your mama just to fly back. Mm-hmm. And that's when the conversation, so it wasn't the whole, you know, March just hit. No, this is what happened in March.
I was also starting to feel guilty because it was a continual lie. Because it was like,
oh yeah, how are you doing?
And he said, like, we live together. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, it was the Lord was at my shoulder, like, bro, this is not what I meant. This is not what I said.
So let me ask you, Stephanie, you said you didn't see any successful marriages.
Mm-hmm.
So was your parents married?
No, they weren't. They were divorced. They got divorced when I was 2. And then I don't know if that's a Nigerian thing or not, but it just wasn't. Yeah, they got divorced when I was 2. Another married people in my life, they were married, but it wasn't healthy. Like, they controlling and like just talk, not good. And the only one married couple that I had at the time, I wasn't really close with until after I honestly got married, and then it was kind of like, oh, this is what marriage looked like. So there was only the one couple, my Aunt Mary and Uncle Joe, that I saw. And then my mom, again, did her best and was trying to shore up her children to be self-sufficient. So I was built to stand on my own, to not need anyone, because the position that she was in when her and my dad split was a hard position. So she built us to be just self-sufficient. So it was kind of like, well, I really don't need anyone. Yeah. I can do it by myself. And then also a little bit of the whole, don't know if this is like a Black adage thing, but, you know, keep family business. So then you also don't really get close to anyone because you feel like if you tell them too much, they can use it against you and stuff. So it was just really, I didn't really have a whole lot of trusting relationships, even outside of romantically, because I think it was more of a survival tactic for my mom at the time. And she kind of passed it on to us, also wanting us to survive. But I feel like because of her sacrifice and all that she did, we don't necessarily need to have those same rules in place. Yeah. But that's what it was, because they got divorced early, and it was not nice. They weren't, yeah.
You know, with our kids too, especially our daughters, I know I'm kind of doing what your mom did. Mm-hmm. Is, you know, we gonna make sure you get your education. We're gonna make sure you guys are good. You're gonna get this. You're gonna get that, because we don't want you depending on nobody.
Right.
And it's like it's hard to balance that, because it's like you either go to the very extreme,
right?
Be on the other side of that, and you're depending on someone.
I honestly don't know how I'm gonna do that with my girls, because I don't know. I feel like you do need to be self-sufficient, but there needs to also be room for, even like friendships, there needs to be room for you to be vulnerable with your friends, give and take with your friends. And it's not necessarily a sign of weakness to want or to need something from someone. But yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna do that, because that's so ingrained in me. Like even today, I was pushing the girls in a double stroller, had the bag on my back and trying to get something. Damani's like, I'm right here. I'm like, oh, could you get it? But yeah, I don't know, girl. When you find out, you text me. It's
no.
Well, I'm saying from a woman's standpoint, like just a woman raising women, like just.
Yeah. It's hard. It's a balance.
Yes.
So I'm curious on mom them find out.
He like, let's get back to the juice. Come on, get back to this.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out like what happened. Like what was that challenge that you guys really had to deal with, through that or was that the main challenge?
Ooh, no. So my mom found out she didn't talk to me for months, which is fair. I mean, I literally called her and said I'm married, and she hung up the phone and talked to me for months. I talked to my Uncle Joe and Aunt Mary and told them, and they were hurt, but understood because I was just telling them about the vitriol that I heard when I told them I was getting married the first time. And they were like, oh, I understand why you felt like you had to do that. I wish you didn't. But, I understood. So they were kind of the lifeline because it felt like everyone else was against me. But I understand your sister or your daughter gets married and doesn't tell you. It's kind of a hurtful thing. So it was tough. And then I had to do what I call an apology tour. And humble myself because, again, Damani was right. I should have at least told them. And if you want to come, you can come. If not, you're not. But just apologize for not giving them the opportunity to show up for me or to make the decision themselves, kind of robbing them of that. And I mean, I had to talk to like my line sisters, like my friends, and like
she didn't let anybody know. I was like, at least let your line sister know. She was like, no. I was like, okay.
But then eventually, it took a while. It took a long time. I want to say, like a year or so until he started being treated like a normal spouse. Because it kind of felt, what's the word I'm looking for? Illegitimate. Kind of like you just went off and married this man, even though it wasn't though, because he'd been around. But to them, it's like, well, what? Like we didn't know. But anyway, neither here nor there. But no, it took like a year, and maybe even when our daughter when I was pregnant with her, it was kind of like, oh, so y'all are serious. And it was like, yeah, we told y'all we're sorry.
So tell me this: how did? I know we talked about God in the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
At what point major, like, God had to do something miraculously in marriage that you guys were dealing with? So that was one of the things, the topic that you kind of talked about. What was that God moment where God had to step in?
Well, no, I was saying like God was at the very beginning with the way this whole thing worked out, because it was more of like, in order to love me, you're going to have to hate. Like it's the scripture that says that, like in comparison, are you going to listen to your family that says, do not marry this man? Or are you going to listen to me? So that's why I brought that up when you first said it, because I felt like that was the foundation of even us getting married, was me listening to God over my family. That had been such a pivotal part of everything I am, and to say no to all of you, and I'm listening to what God says. So that's the first example that I have.
Yeah, for me, it started before I met her. Prior to meeting her, and I don't know when this airs, but my mother passed away October 18th, 2009. And during that season of life, I was what I like to call, not what I like to call it. This is
call it what it is. You're sinning.
You call it that. This is her perspective of it. But for me, I was trying to fill a hole that couldn't be filled, and I was doing it physically. Like I would have relations with several different women because I wanted to feel that love, that nurture, that feeling that only God and the love of a mother can feel. So I had a season where I stepped away from God because my mom passed away suddenly. Literally talked to her a few days before that, and I get a call from the preacher because she was at church. She died in the middle of a prayer at church. Wow. So, it was really, really shocking. This is the first major death in my life, and I was lost. I felt alone. I didn't know my father at the time, and I never grew up with my father. And for some reason, I thought that my mom was the connection to my grandparents and everybody else on that side of the family, when that's ridiculous. Right. But that's what popped in my head during that season. So I was drinking, drugs, alcohol, sex, like for at least almost a year and a half of just trying to fill that hole. And it wasn't until I prayed and God, like, I had a heart to heart with him. And he really called me back to what I like to do. Like I said, I love singing. I was a praise leader. Well, I still am, but I was a praise leader. I was doing all of these things in the church, and I grew up in the church, youth group, all of those different things. And it wasn't until I really got to that point where I was just like, I need to get back with you. And I said, I'm not talking to any other women. I'm not getting any other relationships. And I said, the next woman that you bring in my life will be my wife. Whomever you bring. Like the next woman. And I was sitting there watching TV, and I got on blackpeoplemeet.com one day, and she was literally the second profile, and she was 6'1", and she was chocolate, so I like chocolate. And I was just like, let's see. And our first official date was where I was just like, okay, God, this is like, I met her and I really felt something different. And I said, okay, it's gonna be my wife. So I operated
like a crazy person.
In retrospect, I'm like, I don't know what I was saying.
Very aggressive. In a good way, but kind of like, what?
Yes. Like,
how were you aggressive? Like, what does that look like?
In terms of like expectations. Like I walked in like, you're my wife. Like straight up, like I'm looking for, like, you're gonna be my wife.
So let's clarify that. He was very respectful.
Absolutely.
To the point where it was also threw me off a little, because he wouldn't like,
I wouldn't touch her.
Nothing. Very like, courting. That's the word. Very intentional. I want you to meet my family. I want to meet your family. I want to, let's go to church together. Like everything was very, oh, it's Thanksgiving. We should spend it with each other. So that's what he means by wife, not like cooking meals and
not the stereotype
stuff like that. But yeah, very intentional.
Yes.
You're my family, and like literally, and I'm like, relax.
But so when I tell you, that's why, every other topic that you all had under there all fell under God for us, because it started there. And the way that we talked, the way that I saw one another, the way that we had conversations, like there was no arguing. We've had one argument in our relationship.
A lot of disagreements and conversations.
Absolutely.
But as far as like
arguing, yelling, raising your voice.
What's the purpose of this disagreement?
Yeah.
Where are we getting to? You just were great. Let me know early. It's not about to be yelling in here.
I said, look, I'm big. I was like, I'm 6'9".
That's
look,
what you said.
I ain't about, because if I yell, somebody calling the cops. Like I don't wanna have to keep going over stuff over and over again. Like, please listen to me. Like, so we've only had one incident in our 13 years where it got to that point. And I thank God for that. But that's what I mean by God led. Like it was just like I say, in retrospect, I'm like, I don't know who that person was. I don't know why. That was the Holy Spirit talking, because it makes no sense.
Right.
My very first Thanksgiving, I was upset with her about not introducing me to her family. We were like 6 or 7 months in. I'm like, what are you? Now I'm like, what? But those conversations, that intentionality is what bred here, because now she sees it and she understands it, she loves it and she appreciates it. And that's what got her to this point to trust and really, pour into me and hear me. Even with we became friends and very close in our conversations, but it was all guided by the Spirit, because I'm just like, if you ask me now, I could not answer.
So you mentioned friends. Were you guys friends when you first got into a relationship, or did it happen later on?
No, I mean, we met in with intentions of dating. So we met in beginning of February, and we were official like April 1st. Yep. So we were saying, like, as far as, I don't know, I feel like there are a lot of people who are married who are romantically in a relationship that aren't friends. I don't understand that concept.
Yeah.
But we're saying that we are friends. Like, we talked about things, we challenge each other, we share, like, so I think that's what he was saying. We were friends. But we always started with like a romantic, like, this is what our intentions are.
I like the part when you say challenge each other, even in your relationship now. How do y'all challenge each other in a relationship?
Let me tell you.
I was gonna ask.
He told you that that you were my therapist. I was his doctor early.
Absolutely.
And I mean early. So as he mentioned, his mom passed away at 40.
She was 42
40 going on right before her 41st birthday.
Of a heart attack. And I said, well, and I was in med school. I said, well, you know, this man would call me and tell me he's at the Walmart getting a snack. And I said, well, what's that? Well, you know, like sub sandwiches, pizza. I'm like, that's not a snack. That's, you know, meal. So it took, so that was one of the very first ways that I challenged him. That's another way. Listen, for the first half of our, not even half, majority of our relationship, I was trying to change him as far as his health journey and what he eats, etc. Trying to get him to live long. I'm not about to be here by myself. I done did all this work to be attached to somebody, and I
lie to your parents, to your mom.
You gonna die for let us hush.
But no, I was doing, and part of it was because he did help me so much emotionally and like relationally and just all that. I really wanted to repay him by also helping him and, you know, pushing him in the areas where he was weak, but it wasn't working. It just wasn't working. I mean, all the things, meal plan, first education, right? Because sometimes you think education, I mean, not you think, people don't know. It's very complicated, especially in America. There's sugar in everything. Granola is sold as a health food, but then people eat a bag of it. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Or someone stops to get 3 Church's biscuits, just went to get some biscuits. Anyway, it's hard. So I thought maybe let me just educate him. And then it was like, oh, well, let me help him grocery shop. Let me help this. And I was really like doing a lot. And he would get on the wagon and fall off the wagon, get on the wagon. And I was really like upset because it was also like I would be learning these things in school, and then half of the things he has or he does, and I'm just thinking of like the risk, and I'm supposed to not be pissed off at you, but you know, this is how you're choosing to live your life. Do you not care and all this stuff? So it was really exhausting, honestly. And then the Lord told me he was my husband. I said, okay, well, I guess.
She said, I guess
I'm gonna be marrying him. And it wasn't until the Lord was just working on me. The beginning of our marriage, the first year, they always say it was hardest, and it was a lot of like, this gets on my nerve about him, but I can't tell if I'm overreacting, if I'm tripping. So let me go to the Lord and try to, you know, get this situated. So I feel like the Lord like shifted me and told me that I'm not in control. Healthy people get hit by buses all the time.
Yep.
And he could die at any time. I could die at any time. So me thinking that I'm controlling, or I'm able to control this in this way, instead of submitting to God and saying, well, Lord, please keep my husband. I literally prayed for 55 years, like specifically. It will be like 85, 90. So that was one thing that the Lord had to intervene upon, is like my mindset. And then secondly, like, he can't do things for me. It won't last. Like, he needs to do it because he wants to do it. He needs to do it because he wants to live long. He needs to do it because he wants to feel good, or whatever the situation. Me is not enough.
Yeah.
So then he had to that was one of the things I challenged him, because I was like, bro, why is this not, like, you see all the things. You see your mom pass, your dad had a heart attack, your friends are passing, like Papa passed, like look at it, like, kind of, this is not a laughing matter. Look at it and try to figure out what's going on within yourself that you can't take this seriously. So that was the way that I had to challenge him. And then I had to let it go. It's like one of those things where it's like you want the best for your partner or from whomever, children, and you pour and you pour and you teach and you teach and you do and you do and you pray, and then you just be like, Lord, all right, well, fix it. Because either I'm going to resent him or hate him, because that's what was starting to happen. was that it was starting to be like, it was more of like performative. You didn't work out this week. Now I don't like you. So now we're not going on a date, or now I'm gonna have an attitude. And it was starting to kind of, so I just had to let the whole thing go, pray about it, support. And the Lord worked it out. And then also when it happened, I take a little, but I couldn't take credit. Because sometimes when we do stuff for people, we want to do it because it's like, oh, well, he got healthy because of me. But now it's like, well, the Lord done fixed it, because clearly all the stuff that I was doing wasn't working. So it wasn't me, it was the Lord that did it.
So the reason why I'm big is because God had to teach her a lesson. But now I am happy to say though, this year, I'm down 50 pounds since January. So, I've definitely lost weight. I work out 3 to 4 times a week. I'm more consistent with doing what I need to do. And, to her point, I had to do it for me. I would say, oh, well, I'm gonna do this for you. Let me know and this and that, but it wasn't working. And once, I took a step back and really listened to God, really listened to the signs that he's given me, because God will give you so many close people. Like in the past 4 years, I've had to say goodbye to at least 9 people. And 7 of them were under the age of 50. 3 of them had children under the age of 5. And 9 of them out of the, what I say, 9 people.
9 to 8.
So 8 of them were men, black men. So I heard them. I was like, I hear you. And like I said, I'm celebrating my mom's, my mom's passing, but then her birthday is on the 26th of October. And like I said, she was 40, going on 41.
Oh, so young.
I'm getting there. I'm about to be 37. So like, all of this is like, hey, pay attention. You got these beautiful women, your wife, your babies in your life. You want to be there for them. Do what you can on your part. And after that, in therapy, processing things with my own therapist, I'm finally on this train, and I'm very excited and just happy and grateful for that. On a more serious note, but at the end of the day, she just had to learn her lesson first, and then
whatever.
God was like, "All right, go ahead, big dog, you got it."
I did learn a lot.
This episode of Couples Connect is sponsored by Just Like You Hair Care System. Introducing Just Like You Hair Care, the perfect solution for healthy, growing, moisturized hair. Our hair growth oil is enriched with essential oils like calendula, lavender, rose petals, also enriched with nourishing jojoba oil, promoting growth, reducing breakage, and restoring scalp health. Follow with our moisturizing leave-in cream to lock in hydration for smooth, manageable hair all day long. So you get to feel confident with thicker, stronger, and deeply moisturized hair. Our products are made with all natural ingredients and is designed for women or anyone who want a holistic approach to hair wellness. Shop today and experience the transformation. Just Like You Hair Care, your hair, your confidence, and your journey. The link is in the show notes. Now back to the episode.
I think
that's pretty awesome, man, because you said, so you got the physical part that you was really ready to kind of start tackling, right? Because maybe, Steph tried her best to try to get you there. On your own, you was like, hey, I need to do this, right? Yeah. Starting to notice what's happening. And then you mentioned just now that you also, you have a therapist yourself that you go to, right? For some mental work that needs to be done there, right? So that's that physical, that mental piece, just those pieces right there, man. How does it help you, not just in your marriage, just in life? Mentally working on that, physically working on yourself. What has it done for you, in just the realm of life?
It's given me an opportunity to really appreciate the season that I'm in. I feel like God has prepared me for this season because, as you all know, if you all start a podcast, starting a brand is not easy.
Girl.
And there's a part of it that we didn't talk about is the fact that for 3 years I was stay-at-home father. So I didn't work at all. And she's a doctor. So even prior
you didn't have an income.
Okay, I didn't have an income.
There's
on
a
Pops.
difference.
You're absolutely right. I didn't have an income.
Listen,
I didn't have an income. Definitely working with my children and doing all of those things. But during that season, I was like, okay, well, once I graduate, it's on and popping. You know, one thing about Black male mental health professions, we are literally 1% of the population when it comes down to mental health professionals. 4% are African American, and then within that 4%, only 25%, or I think 10% of that 4% are men. So I'm literally less than 1%. So I'm like, oh, when I graduate, they coming. They coming. It's all coming. I'm gonna be working. I'm gonna be doing all. It's not what happened. It's not what happened. The brand came out. I said, oh, God called me to my big Black therapist. Everybody's gonna love it.
Girl.
It's gonna happen, you know. Still didn't happen. And God sat me down and humbled me in terms of waiting on him, but then also giving me that opportunity, space to be like, hey, you need to work on your mental health. You need to work on your physical health. You need to be here for these people. You need to be that. If you want to be my big Black therapist, you want to be this brand, live it. You pour into all these clients. You want to have all these conversations about healthy living, all of these different things. Be that representation. And he called me in this season where I don't have many clients to focus on my health. So now I'm working out twice a day. Like now I'm, making sure at one point I was drinking water, but I don't drink water that much. But we're gonna get on that later. But hey, let me go see my therapist. Let me do this. Let me get in God's word. Like it gave me all of that space. And instead of me worried about why I'm not making the income I want to make right now, I'm focusing on making sure that I'm the best I can for my wife, being presented for her, being the best I can for my children, making sure I'm active in their lives. And now I have the space to make sure that my mental health and my physical health is good. I can run up and down the yard with my babies. Like it's given me so much more perspective and appreciation for the season that I'm in, because especially as Black men, as men, when you are not bringing home, because men are so tied to financial gains, because us as men are so tied to what we can provide and not who we are, it causes us to feel less than when we're not meeting that standard. It causes us to feel like, well, I'm not a man because I'm supposed to be a provider. God said a provider. Did he put a money title on it? Did he just say provider? So, our understanding, our limited understanding of what providing means is what we can do. It's always based on what we can do and not who we are, who God called us to be, and are we moving in that purpose? So, once I got to that point, man, it gave me that perspective, and I'm really like, okay, thank you, God. I hear you, and I'm moving in this season. Whenever you bring it to me, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready.
It's dope, man. You know what I really love? I love the feeling. I say the feeling, but it is somewhat of a feeling of being in the presence of God and on the path that He has you on.
Yeah,
it's something that kind of just it's fuel for everything that you do, right? You're encouraged. Your mindset is different. Stephanie, did you notice the difference in him when he was doing the mental work, when he started finally doing the workouts and the weight started coming down? Did you notice a difference in your husband?
Relax. Yes, I did. And
what areas? How?
Okay.
Hey,
I love
say
it.
it. Say it.
I love it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Say it, girl.
Sexually, there is a huge difference. So I'll be like, relax. Relax.
He's like,
He's like, oh, wait.
From my name.
Right, relax.
I should have lost weight long time ago. I am moving.
That for sure, right. And I just
more stamina.
What's a white flag?
You pray for us.
I think right. But no, I can definitely tell the difference. And I think that's another great thing about our partnership is I can tell when he feels good about himself.
Yeah.
And when he has all his ducks in a row, like when he's trying his best, whatever that looks like in different seasons, it looks different. When he's trying his best, I can tell. He's more confident, he's more focused, he's more attentive, he's kinder, trying to think of more responsible, more even keeled. Like I can just tell, more intentional. So yes, I notice this year has been a great year. There were really hard times in our marriage where I forget what it was, but I was hot because I just felt like he wasn't trying in any of the areas. And I said, well, you need to do something because I can't do this by myself. And I can tell when he gets like that, when he kind of just gets in his own head, and if things aren't working the way, and it's been a while since this has happened, but I can tell when he kind of spirals. It's kind of like, well, this isn't going the way that I want to, and this isn't going the way that I want to. I'm just not going to do nothing, or I just don't feel like this is everything just seems too big to change, so I'm just going to sit here and not do anything. And I can tell when he gets like that, and I be like, you are no longer on a boat by yourself. Get up. Because we need you here. I need you here. I can't do this by myself. That whole strong Black woman that my mama raised, she here, but she not, because you done told me that you gonna be here with me. So be here with me. So yes, I can tell. It's a huge difference. This past year has been the most consistent, that everything has been up. And it's been beautiful.
Let me ask you this. So when you saw him, you recognized him sparring like that. Mm-hmm. When you went to him, did you go to him with, you need to da-da-da-da-da?
I feel like, no. I always try to filter my things.
Yeah.
Oh, I always try to filter my things. Because once you say words, you can't take them back. And then I also am trying to make sure I get what I want to say across, and not like, am I just trying to be mean, or am I really trying to get a change behavior? So it usually takes me not a while, but I don't just fly off. I usually get my thoughts in order. But this particular time, I had already told him the individual things. So it might be like, last month I told you about this and you said you were gonna and you didn't. 2 weeks ago I told you about this and you said you were gonna and you didn't. You told me 6 months ago that you were gonna get on this path and you haven't. And I'm giving you time and space to do what you said. So now that you're not doing what you said, we're gonna talk about it. And by the time I talked to him about it, I was very calm, but it was just, and another thing it was kind of like, it was not necessarily built up, but it was kind of like all the stuff that I had wanted to say, all the things that I had challenged him on, all the things that I've, that had bothered me, and it kind of just laid out in front of him.
Laid out.
How do you remember how you received it?
Absolutely. No, I was very appreciative of it. Didn't want to hear it, but for me, the way I tell my clients, like the way I process things is, I'm next like 2 to 3 day shipping, FedEx 2 to 3 day shipping. So the thing about it is, for my wife, she will have all of that she's processed and ready to talk, and then she's like, "All right, now answer," and I'm just like, I can't. Right. I need time to process, and I remember writing stuff out and really taking time to really process everything that she told me and all the tenets, and that's what I appreciate about her, is that, the only thing I ask, hey, I don't yell. We don't yell. Mm-hmm. Challenge me. And she does. And she put me to the fire. And that's when I had to look introspectively, like, why am I not doing it? Why am I not moving? What do I need? And that's what it gave me. It gave me the opportunity to really look introspectively. Actually. It was a few years ago.
That was before Cammy was even made. Yeah, that was a few years ago.
So yeah, but it really resonated with me, and it kind of started that journey of, okay, hey, I need to find another therapist. All right, boom. hey, I need to, go to the doctor on a consistent basis. I will skip appointments because I know I get there. I know what he's gonna say. I don't want to hear it.
God bless the Lord, dear. I forgot about that. What? I'm gonna go. What are you talking about?
Because I know, but I started saying, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to change. Go find out, stay consistent with it, and then make those your goal marks. And it's over the years now. We're at a good spot. But yeah, I was very receptive of it because she respected the way that I needed to be heard. And that's something very important for couples in relationships.
Say
You
it.
have to speak to one another the way that we can receive it and not the way that we want to give it to them. Because it's not always receptive. I may want to yell and curse and do all of that, but are they going to hear me?
And that's when you got to think about your goal for the conversation. Are you just trying to piss them off, or are you really trying to have them change their behavior?
Exactly. And the fact that she came to me and she spoke with me, and it was a very calm evening, and it hit, but I could tell that, okay, well, I need to take this with, I need to process this and respond in a way that's mature and responsible. And like I said, we don't argue anyway, but it allowed me to take it and hear her and process it more in depthly. So
Yeah, that's good. And it's good that what I'm hearing and what I hope the audience is going to hear is that you don't have to go to your spouse,
With
all
every little
the,
thing.
or pointing the finger or saying you need to do this and you need to do that. Or if you do it in a way that's respectful.
yes.
Like you don't have to, bite each other's head off.
Yeah.
right?
Because even on the way over here, the Lord is so good. He loves us. He just loves us. Damani, I remember telling you about the mental dilemma about my 1 and 3-year-old and them needing naps, but then also wanting to take them to the park and trying to figure out, is it worth missing a nap or whatever? And I was telling Damani, and Damani was like, well, what do you want from me in this conversation? Kind of, do you want me to validate? Kind of,
No, that was,
yeah, do you want me to validate your feelings? Do you want, because he's different. He doesn't think about things like this. So to him, it's like, bro, they missed the nap. Get over, like, if him is being him, they missed the nap, relax. But then he's also trying to be sensitive to me. So he's like, well, because if he would have said that to me, I would have been hurt, because it's like, well, that's not what I want. So he really would, sometimes he just asks me like, what are you looking for in this conversation? And that helps so much, because do you want to vent? Do you want just a fix, like a solution? Do you want to hear my insecurities? Because sometimes he has insecurities, but he kind of brushes them away just like I do, or quicker than me. But sometimes I just want to hear that I'm not crazy for thinking this. So the fact that he even asked that question, and then honestly, I was like, nothing. Because I couldn't even, and that's the other thing. Sometimes we don't even know what we want. Because I was really thinking like,
I don't know.
And I was like,
but let me know.
oh.
I know.
Sometimes we go to our spouse with loud and aggressive, and we don't even know what we want.
Yes.
So relax.
Yes. I remember you had asked me a question, something like that, and I was like, I don't know. No, I don't know why I'm saying it. I wasn't even talking about it.
It's super dope though that that reminder that you was able to be, had some empathy in that situation.
Yeah.
Very considerate, right?
Right.
To go to that place, right? And that's a lot of couples don't go to that space, right? And that's something that we're still learning, man. It's just go into that space where I'm considering your thoughts, your feelings, right, and what you're saying, the moment that you're having right now. How can I support you in that?
Right.
What do you want me to respond?
Right.
Do you want me to just listen?
Yeah, and that's
So-
and that's very key in relationships. Like, and there's nothing wrong with asking that.
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially as men, we are wired to fix things.
Yeah.
We're solution focused. So the kids ain't sleep. All right, they'll sleep tomorrow. It'll be all right. That's not what That's not what my wife wants to hear right now. That's not. But so for me, I was like, okay, well, because it popped in my head. I was like, no. What does she need from me? Like, where do you need me to perform? Like, do you need me to just listen and validate your feelings? Like, yeah, because I understand why you're feeling that way, and I can definitely go into that route. Or do you want me to be like, hey, we can solution focused tomorrow. Make sure they get up, leave church early. Make sure they do, or do you just want to be heard?
Right.
And that space to be heard. So validating one another's feelings and just asking your partner, like, hey, what do you need from me, is a very significant way to help reduce any type of arguments, to help reduce any of those issues, because you're giving your partner space to process. You're giving your partner space to think. And sometimes we don't know what we want.
Right.
Sometimes we just want to get it out. Yeah. And it's just enough.
Absolutely.
That was good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So tell me this: where, how would you identify the space that you're in right now and within your marriage?
Yeah.
If you had to just sum it up in a few words, what space are the Andersons in right now in your marriage?
I like the relationship I'm seeing. That's a good question.
It is a good question. I think we're in a great space. I think we're in a great space. We communicate well. We find pockets in small ways to pour into each other throughout the day, because we don't have as much time because we have 2 children. So we over compliment each other. We over ask. We over, what exactly do you want to do? Because I don't really have time to figure. You could just tell, like, what did you want to eat? What do you want to watch? It's like because our time is so it just feels so finite in this stage, like with the 2 children, that we just really have to stay connected. And I think we are doing good in this season. We continue to make time for each other. We continue to make time for each other. Try to continue to put ourselves first. So I think this is one of the best seasons we've been in, I think. Oh, hush.
It's horrible. I love it. I feel like we're definitely in a very, this is our best season that we've been in. And I think I would call it our prep season. Because I feel like these next couple of years, God got something going on in this family, with this brand, with this relationship, with so much. And I feel like God is prepping us for something. And that's what I just feel like it's our prep season. And during the prep season, we want to make sure we lean in, want to make sure we love, because the devil's going to come with this season as well.
Yeah.
And there's going to be attacks with this as well. And, that's why I ensure that we, like, for me personally, I can't, hey, y'all my people, because between 5 and 7, it's family time every day. 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. is family time. I don't see clients. I don't do I typically don't even do any type of events or anything else like that, because I'm trying to be very intentional on making sure that I'm focused on my family and that they get that interaction. So, just solidifying all of these different things while things are going is what I feel like we're just in this prep mode. And God is really blessing us and allowing us to see one another on many levels.
I love that prep season or prep mode. I love that. God is prepping you for.
Hey, right? Stephanie definitely put you first. But she's not even talking. I forgot all about that.
Listen, this is my first podcast. I
love it because she was talking directly to him.
Yeah.
She was like, "This is my baby, my boo."
No, Stephanie, it's all good.
I love it.
Oh, sure.
So let's say 3 years, man. Where do y'all see yourself 3 years? What does y'all dynamic look like? Your marriage dynamic look like?
We're gonna have a fence.
That is.
We're gonna have a fence.
Okay, you're working on the fence.
Okay. You're silly. I don't. Go ahead. 'Cause I don't even
3 years. 3 years. I see us still moving strong. At this point, our girls will be 6 and 4,
right?
6 and wow, 6 and 4. We got 6-year-olds and 4-year-olds. I feel like we're definitely gonna be just strong as ever. Like we still do stuff with our churches, with our church ministry work. We'll still be influencing that. Hopefully, we'll be able to travel together. And I want her on the stage with me, but she's not gonna do that. So
That's one of the things I had to tell myself. That is your brand, and I am your wife, but I am not the brand. So I do not have to be in the front all the time.
yeah, but I think it was just loving just being more loving, more caring, pouring into the people that we have, and really strengthening our community.
Yeah.
That's what we've been working on being intentional about. Is creating that community for our girls, for ourselves, because we're from Atlanta. We don't have family here like that, so we want to build that community so that they can go places. We can trust them to go other places, so that we can go out of town and not have to, do all of these things, fly people in, and just so I think in 3 years or so, if we continue to be intentional in that way, our community will be bigger and our relationship will just be even stronger.
I want to travel more. That's my answer.
Yes.
In 3
Me
years,
too.
I want to have the network of people like you mentioned, but then also the what is it? Dispensable income? What's the word I'm looking for? Extra income. There we go. Passive income, extra income to be able to travel and not, feel bad about it, because we always want to be good stewards of God's money. And sometimes I'm just like, but I really want to go. But, so just have the freedom to both travel with just us and reconnect in that way, see new places, try new foods, try new cultures, but then also travel as a family. That's really what I see. That's all I see. Work less, travel more.
Yeah.
Next question.
Next question.
I like it, man. What does steward of God's money look like?
So we tithe
Religiously.
So we were always tithing 10%, and then we went someplace and they were like, well, we tithe pre-tax 10%, and we've done so even when he wasn't working.
God has sustained us.
And that is what I mean by being good stewards. So that's not even our money now. I'll be wanting to get that out the account so fast.
As soon as it hit, go and give everybody. Okay, so this goes to God. Now, what happens?
So that's what I mean. So living within our means by still giving regardless. And then at this point, everything is just high. So stuff just costs. But just making sure that we have money to give to God first and listen and pay bills and stuff. But then after that, be intentional with listening to where God wants our money to go. For example, I was like, well, we need to take a trip, but then your truck did something and we need cam phasers now. And I'm like, well, we shouldn't take a trip. But then the Holy Spirit is still saying, no, you can still take the trip. So we still won't take that trip.
Okay. But you said you guys, so you like, it ain't my money, I give it to, and that's what we've been learning too. So today, we were talking, I was like, hey, I went on and paid tithes from what, I make on my job, what I do. But now I'm feeling bad because I didn't pay the whole 10%. Whatever. Whole 10%, but now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back and pay that.
Whatever the Spirit's telling you to do.
Because it is God's money.
Yeah.
And that's what we are learning. And because we've been learning that and learning about money principles and learning what to do with our money, there's been some changes.
Yeah.
And we know that bigger changes are coming, but it is God's money.
That had to and I mentioned this when we kind of first met, but that was one of the lessons I had to learn early as the higher earner in the relationship, was that this is God's money, so that it didn't put me in a space to feel superior to him.
Yeah.
So I had to learn that early. So now it's like people lose jobs every day. COVID hit, people get laid off. Like the Lord, if he wanted to just take it all away. So just remembering that, not in like a fear way, but just showing how powerful he is. So if you release this money, he also has the same power to bring it back to you in another way, to get a bonus, to get a tax refund for a homestead that we didn't even know to file, and then we filed it. It's like, ooh.
Yeah.
So So he has a way. So just remembering how big he is. Like he can make this money. Come on. Get a phone call in the car. Look at us.
Right.
Yes.
This podcast could go crazy, and look at us.
Look at us.
Come on now. Pour it into y'all. Pour it into y'all. Yes.
That's so crazy, man, because in my study yesterday in the Bible, right? It was I was reading how basically same thing what we're talking about now. It's not our money, right? And the fact that God gives us power to create wealth, to make money, to do everything that we do. That's the whole money piece. That's his already. But we should be praising the fact that he gives us the power, right, to go out and work and do all those things that we can bring in money into the house, which is once again is his. Right? So it would just really refreshing for me to read that again, to continue to understand that this money thing, a lot of times why people don't get it right, including us, is because we think it's our money.
Right.
We earned it.
Right.
And until we can make that shift right in our mindset and understand wholeheartedly and full that this is God's money, right, we'll never really get that whole money thing fixed in our home, right? We got to just really, push forward that idea that this is not even my money, man. Right. That 10%, whatever we want to give, that's it's not even mine. Right. It's an easy thing. Right. Which at one point for us, it wasn't. And it was more me. I'm like, man, I had the mindset of the preacher, he rolling, he listen. Church. Right. Yeah. And I had to get past that.
And they wearing this and they wearing that.
Right. Yeah, right. So I had to get past that. But anyway, I know we run out of time. Yes. But I want to really quick, man, your men's scroll.
Oh, yes.
It's super dope, man. Speak to that real quick, man, and let people know.
So it's my camera. Here we go. Yeah, my name once again. I'm Damani Anderson. Y'all might see a similar background, but I am part of the Dallas Stroller Social Club. That is a Dallas-based chapter, or the first founded chapter here in Dallas by a brother named Calvin Bridgewater. The reason behind it was solely because of postpartum depression and how men deal with it, how men process it. He went to a postpartum meeting with his with the primary care physician. What is it? What are they called again?
PCP.
The doula, and his wife was having. They were explaining the different things about postpartum and all the symptoms, and he was just like, "Man, that resonates with me." And there's not really that many places for us as men. So he started reaching out to a bunch of guys and just said, hey, let's hang out. Let's go to the park. And it started off with just his friends going to the park. His wife, she does contract work. And she said, well, I told some of my wives that I work with about them, they want to bring their husbands as well. He said, okay, let's bring it on. And over the past 3 to 4 years, this thing has grown to a point where we're starting to get more and more notoriety. So every month, at the beginning of every month, we do a stroller stride where we meet up a whole fathers of mainly minority, but all fathers are welcome. And we walk, we talk, we pour into one another, and we're actually going to be having several different things coming out, including a podcast. We have some mentor programs that we're actually implementing, and a number of different things on that area. So Daddy Stroller Social Club is the Instagram. Please follow, like, comment, subscribe, all of those things. For any fathers who are interested, please join. You can reach out to me at my Big Black Therapist if you want to reach out and find a connect, and I gladly provide all the information for you.
Absolutely.
And all fathers of all ages. You don't just have to have a kid with a stroller. If you got 30-year-old kids, we still want to have input because they have value. Right. All fathers have value. And we have some of the older ones that come in and pour into us and help us with answering questions and all those different things as well.
Yeah. I love it, man. I just thought it was so dope to see all the men y'all had out there, man, pushing strollers. Yeah. I mean, a big group out there.
Too. Yeah, it was like almost 250. I think it was about 250 dads.
Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah. I love it. Absolutely. So last thing, man, we're about to get out of here, but anything that you guys would love to share, man, with a couple that might be out there, that might be going through it, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it may be, anything that you feel like God may drop in your spirit to share with them, this would be the time to do it now. Y'all both get a chance to share real quick.
I would say do the personal work. You are in a relationship with someone. However, you bring a lot of stuff with you. So it's important to know how much of your stuff is impacting how you see your spouse, how you yell at your spouse, how you resent your spouse. So just really never stop working on yourself and really learn to be honest with yourself and continue to grow as an individual so that you can be the best spouse you can be for your partner.
Very good. I like that answer.
It's the truth.
It is the truth.
I'm still here.
I would say talk. Be honest. Like, while you're doing that introspective work on yourself, be able to learn to create that space for one another so that you all can have real conversations about issues, insecurities, all of those different things. Those who are in relationships, those who are in marriage, God designed marriage for that intimacy. God designed that covenant for us to get back to the garden. When you think about the garden at the very beginning of life, it was a free space. Adam and Eve were naked. They ate from the fruits of the trees. They were able to do whatever they needed to do freely and openly. And it was a safe space. But when sin entered into that garden, everything changed. Men and women began to look at one another. They began to go against one another. And that's what I believe the covenant is for. It's that garden again. It's that experience of being vulnerable, being naked, and not just physically, but being able to unclothe my insecurities to my wife, express to her when I'm afraid. I made a post a couple of days ago or yesterday because I cried in front of my wife and my daughters mourning the death of my mom after 16 years. And that was such a freeing moment, a defining moment for my family and for myself. And I couldn't get to that point unless we created that safe space. So learning how to create that safe space. And if you need tools, please go to therapy. Please find someone to help process that. Find a life coach. Find someone who specializes in these areas, because we have the opportunity to be able to help you create that space for one another. And I promise you, once you get into that mode and start doing that, your relationship will take off in spaces and places you never thought before.
Chew.
Come on now.
On that,
I do this.
Hey.
I do this.
Hey. I dropped nothing else to say, man. This is Couples Connect. And we out.
That was
Peace.